Parker Palmer says, "We teach who we are, our past experiences, our passions, and our fears play out in the classroom, and yet we have been taught by our society to put on a brave face and separate who we are with what we do. We are constantly bombarded with political agendas, moral pressures, and a competitive economic climate that persuades us to produce good, productive workers for the 21st century. Yet, in a democratic, pluralistic society, which doctrine do we follow? Which curriculum will best prepare our students for a life of freedom and responsibility? How do we know that what we are doing matters for the greater good of all? In light of the present-day critique on public schools and public school teaching, who best can hold us accountable for our students' learning? As professionals, we hold ourselves accountable. We need to critically reflect on our practice. We need to understand why we teach the way we teach, and at the same time, be responsive to the needs of our students and their environments. This is not an easy task, and we can't do it alone. Stephen Kemmis says, "We are inclined to think of reflection as something quiet and personal. My argument here is that reflection is action-oriented, social, and political. Its product is praxis, which means informed, committed action, the most eloquent and socially significant form of human action." Stephen Kemmis is an advocate of inquiry learning and teacher research. When teachers come together and take a stance of inquiry or teacher researcher, they engage in a process that is organic and reflexive. The outcome is not predictable or prescribed, yet the learning has space to deepen and be personal and meaningful. Just think of a bamboo plant that grows in the river. There are just rocks, and the water rages towards it and around it. Yet, how can it survive? It not only survives, it flourishes because it is flexible. Any other piece of wood would snap, but the bamboo bends and gives way to the water and the rocks surrounding it. In its turmoil state, it is made resilient, flexible, strong, and beautiful. As teachers of inquiry, we too can learn from this metaphor. There is just one thing, and it is not easy. Brené Brown says, "Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen." Teachers in authentic collaboration come to share their shortcomings in and out of the classroom. The first people's principle of learning can assist us in this process. My friend and colleagues, Lynn Wainwright and Mike Akuenzi, taught me the power of the circle. In the circle, we are equal, we are all gifted, we are all faulted, and we are all forgiven. Each day, we recognize and honor this practice that is brought to us by our indigenous cultures. As teachers come together to collaborate, the circle is a great framework to begin with. Once trust is built, the framework provided by Linda Kaiser and Judy Halbert is a powerful tool that can guide teachers in the collaboration and inquiry journey. At Blair School, we are beginning to take the stance of inquiry using this very framework. At first, we scan. We scan our students, our classrooms, our school environments, and our thoughts. What do we notice? What patterns do we see emerging? For some of us, scanning can be shared as a conversation. For others, we can use graphic organizers and charts, and we can collect artifacts from our students' work. Galileo Galilei once said, "All truths are easy to understand once they're discovered. The trick is to discover them." However, discovering takes time. It takes an openness that comes with dialogue and the exposure to differing perspectives. Then, a hunch can develop. What do I suspect can be better? As our hunches become stronger, a plan begins to formalize. It is the next natural step, and it is the one that we as teachers are so used to doing. The implementation, though, can be scary for some teachers. In a traditional co-planning model, there is a lot of pressure for teachers to come prepared and perform their part to perfection. After all, we have been delegated a task and we don't want to let our partners down. However, inquiry requires us to let go of those very structures that limit us. Yes, we start with a plan, but just as the water in a river ebbs and flows, the learning of our students will also ebb and flow. Instead of pressing on with our plan, we pay attention to their needs and we respond immediately to what is taking place. To do this, teachers must come to terms that learning sometimes is messy, chaotic, and unpredictable. But there are two of us, and with two, we can be present. We have the time and energy. We can question what's going on. What will I do to respond to the student? What is happening under the surface to give me these outcomes? Co-teaching allows teachers opportunities to bounce ideas in the classroom and change the course of learning immediately. Then we can be present. There are two effective ways that I found to be present. The first is pedagogical documentation from Reggio Emilia in Italy. It is simply when teachers take pictures and record quotes from their students. Then the photos and the quotes are then made into panels that capture the spirit of the moment. These panels have been wonderful tools teachers can use as they come together to scan for learning patterns, question their work, or come to understand their students. Documentation is simple and honest, yet as we reflect, we sense the intangible, the learning that cannot be captured by a test. Journaling is the other way that is effective. It is a place where one can dialogue with oneself. Sometimes in writing, teachers come to discover a new understanding, a perspective they hadn't seen or heard of or thought of before. It is also a place to dream the impossible dream for their students. But many times it is a simple acknowledgement, and journal notes are valuable as teachers gather to collaborate. In our very limited experience with collaboration, I have come to realize that the steps may be repetitive, but the work is never the same. As teachers collaborate together, they dive deeper and deeper into their discoveries, the relationship they have with each other and with their students and with learning becomes richer and richer. Work no longer becomes work. It has transformed our passions because we are honoring our true selves in our true practice.